All right, it's time to bring you our 2024 Dynasty rookie rankings.
That's right.
Specifically for the one quarterback format. So if you're in the one quarterback gang, show some love down below. Do us a favor, hit that like button. We're going through about the top 30 or so, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
You know, just based off our film evaluation and our scouting for the last couple months here. But Badaki, anything you want to say before we get into it?
No, excited about this. This one's for you, one quarterback game. We appreciate each and every one of you. Like Zach said, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and take us to your first tier because I know this should be a nail biter.
All right, so Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously the most valuable player in a one quarterback format, generational prospect. I know people might be annoyed at that term, generational, but I mean, he truly is. How else do you want us to describe him? He does everything well. He is super tall. He's got great weight. He's got great size, speed, ball skills, route running. He does everything well. The best wide receiver prospect since Jamar Chase. Now, something that has been a little bit of controversy on this channel is that I don't have Marvin Harrison Jr. in a tier by himself. And that's not to devalue Marvin Harrison Jr. It's because I really think there are two elite wide receiver prospects in this class. And the second one is Malik Neighbors. So I have both of these guys in the same tier. I'm curious what you think about that. But when I look at Malik Neighbors, I see, you know, a wide receiver that can be just as good as Marvin Harrison Jr., but they have different play styles. Malik Neighbors is better after the catch. He's a more explosive athlete. He also had the #1 PFF receiving grade this year at 92.7. Super versatile guy. Great route runner. Good ball skills. Great speed. Like I said, a yak threat. When I combine the names Reggie Wayne, Antonio Brown, and DJ Moore, that's the kind of player I think we're getting with the likes of Malik Neighbors. Now, would you have them in the same tier, Badaki, or would you rather, you know, put Marvin Harrison on his own?
Before I answer that question, because I've been trying to figure out a way the best to explain it. It's really difficult. Would you consider Malik Neighbors a generational talent?
Yes.
Okay. I would have them in different tiers. And if you would have answered no, then I don't believe they would have been in the same tier. I don't believe they deserve in the same tier. But the only reasons why, and I still, like, I know we had this conversation on a live stream. It's still very difficult to have them apart, but also have them together. It's like devaluing Marvin Harrison, but not valuing Malik Neighbors at the same time. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to hinder either one of these wide receivers because they both do different things at their level.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe his name value already with Marvin Harrison because of his name, because I've been trying to find ways not to have Malik Neighbors in this same tier, but at the same time, I'm kind of like with you. He should be in the tier, but still, like, I don't think it's supposed to be in the same. Like, I feel I'm on both sides. Like, I don't think he should, and I think he should.
I think if Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't in this class, you would see Malik Neighbors being the one mocked #3 to the Cardinals in every mock everywhere. I mean, maybe that is the good of a prospect.
And I think maybe it is the name value that's holding a lot of weight for Marvin Harrison ahead of Malik Neighbors, because we can see what his dad's done. We can envision, or we see what he's done in college, and we can just envision that same pathway for Marvin Harrison Jr., where this feels like there's no failure and coming in for fantasy, where I'm not saying there is failure for Malik Neighbors, or I'm anticipating it, but I would say there's a 1% chance of failure. And I think maybe that's enough to have them in different tiers, which sounds crazy, right? But
I hear you. I feel like
nitpicking.
Any prospect, there's a percentage chance of failure. Like, as good as Marvin Harrison Jr. is, people don't want to admit it, but of course, he could be a bust.
100%.
I don't believe so. There's no indications based off of film or analytics that can tell me that he will fail. I believe he will be a generational, game-changing talent at the next level. But at the same time, everyone is prone to potential failure. That's why every year we see guys who fail and they're top 10 picks in the NFL draft. What I will say is I think Malik Neighbors is going to get top 5 to 6 draft capital. Marvin's going to be top 5 for sure. And, you know, again, I think people don't want to put respect on Malik because Marvin Harrison Jr. is just this absolute god, but so is Malik. So is Malik. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan
it.
of his game.
It makes sense. However way you guys want to put it, that's how you could do it. Both of these guys are going to be phenomenal here.
Yeah.
Take us to your tier 2.
Yes. All right. The tier 2, we will talk about Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers, and Emeka Egbuka. Let me ask you, who would you like to talk about here? Is there anyone that you disagree with?
There's no one here that I disagree with. I think one of the biggest conversations we normally have is what's going to happen with Emeka Egbuka.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have Emeka Egbuka here in this top realm because of all the injuries he's been dealing with so far in college and what he dealt with in 2023 specifically. And, you know, in the shadow of Marvin Harrison Jr., to be completely honest with you,
yeah,
I still believe he should be and probably will be a top 20 to 15 pick in the NFL draft. I can see the narrative where he falls outside of the first round and goes early first, maybe the 33rd pick. Yeah, exactly, early second, but I will not be surprised if he is a top 15 to 20 pick with the elite separation, the elite route running. I've been saying this the whole time. Outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., I think Emeka Egbuka is one of the best route runners in this class. And he's up there for me. Yeah. So I love this. I love this tier. Rome Odunze is phenomenal. Brock Bowers is phenomenal. So yeah, I like tier 2 for you.
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka, he is going to translate at the next level. There's no question. I don't know if he's actually going to declare or not. My concern is that he comes back for 2025.
I don't see why he does. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the knowledge of 2025 class. Yeah. Maybe he could be the best wide receiver in 2025.
I mean, I don't want him to, but I mean, he could be the number one wide receiver off the board next year. So that's something that he might consider. Again, I don't want him to, but I see a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Robert Woods in his game. Just a super versatile player that you can kind of line up anywhere. Now, I think Malik is a better route runner than him overall, but I do think he is probably the third best route runner in this class, and that's not to devalue him because he's fantastic. I mean, he's great in zone, good against man, good release package, that nice tempo in his routes, if you will. And of course, betting on a Ohio State wide receiver is always a good bet. But Brock Bowers as well. I just want to quickly say, don't sleep on Brock Bowers. Don't devalue Brock Bowers because he's a tight end. Don't devalue him because we've known his name for so long. I mean, look at what Sam Laporta, look at what Dalton Kincaid, look at what these rookie tight ends are doing in the NFL today. So it's a new age, and Brock Bowers could step in and make an impact in his rookie year.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, on to round tier 3. Troy Franklin and Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay.
Any questions about these two names? Anyone in particular you want to talk about?
Just these two in this tier 3, right?
That's it. That's all I have here. I feel like they separate themselves from the rest of the pack for me. I do not personally believe either of these guys fall in the first round of the NFL draft.
And I think that is the biggest surprise for some people, for someone like specifically Brian Thomas. I don't think a lot of people can envision him going in the first round. Maybe they do. A lot of these mocks, I see him going in the early second round. And we've been saying this on our live streams and our multiple videos. We will not be surprised if Brian Thomas is a third wide receiver off the board ahead of Rome Odunze, ahead of Emeka Egbuka. Like, that's how high he could potentially go when you think of his talent and what he can bring to a team. So I love Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas.
I would be surprised if he went ahead of Rome, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was number 4.
Sure. And then Troy Franklin, obviously, we both love him. Some great separation, great hands. He has the speed. He has the route running. The ability is there to go in and be either Devonta Smith type of player. Maybe he is an elite wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1B, like we called Devonta Smith, wide receiver 1B, or Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1B behind Tyreek Hill. That's the type of caliber Troy Franklin can be, depending on the offense that he goes to.
Yeah, you said Devonta Smith. I see a little Deshaun Jackson there, a little Jameson Williams as well with Troy Franklin. Really exciting, just explosive athlete that I think NFL teams are going to fall in love with. We say this often. You don't need to have elite long run speed to be a wide receiver that NFL teams love to be successful at the next level. But if you have it and you have the short area quickness and you're a good route runner and you're good after the catch, I mean, that is all a really good recipe. And Troy Franklin is just a very, very exciting name.
Yeah, agreed.
Brian Thomas or Troy? Who's going to get drafted first, you think? Brian Thomas?
I think because of Troy's separation, I think it will be Troy. Okay. I think overall teams look at separation, not size anymore. Separation is, in my opinion, what these NFL teams are wanting from players. Like you think of the Olaves, you think of the Garrett Wilsons, the Jamar Chases. Not only do they get the Justin Jeffersons, not only do they get separation, but they have other elite traits as well. And Troy already has the one trait that they all look for, in my opinion. What else does he bring? Does he bring the speed? Does he bring the yards after the catch? Those are the type of things that I think of when I think of Troy. And yeah, but love Brian Thomas.
Yeah, I love him too. All right, we'll move on to tier 4 here. This is where the running backs come off the board. Trey Benson and Travion Henderson.
Makes sense.
My 1A, my 1B. Both of these guys, I mean, I don't have an issue if you have one ahead of the other. But I do think they separate themselves from the rest of the class personally. As far as Trey Benson goes, he's just a complete back. He should not be able to move like he does at 6'1", 225 pounds. It should not be possible for a human being to do that. Ridiculous size, great burst, short area quickness, strength through contact. Last year he had, I think, a 0.5 missed tackles forced per attempt. So I think Bijan was like 0.4, which was ridiculous. He's got great vision. He has great long run speed. No player hit 21 miles per hour or greater in a game more than Trey Benson this year. Reminds me a lot of Javonte Williams, Rashad Penny, David Montgomery. I'm a huge fan of his game. And then you get Travion Henderson, who is a little bit more like your Aaron Joneses of the world, who can run in between the tackle, but is going to be a very good pass catcher, dynamic in space, super elusive. I'm a big fan of both of these players' games.
Yeah, completely agree. You know, I've compared Travion Henderson to what Austin Eckler can be in fantasy.
Yeah.
Pass catching guy, someone gets peppered in the flat by their quarterback and has the ability to break out for a big run there. So I love both of these guys in tier 4.
All right, so this is where the quarterbacks will come off the board. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. Hard to decide exactly where these quarterbacks should go in a one quarterback league, you know. But I think they're worthy of being at minimum tier 4. You can make a case of taking them over Troy Franklin or Brian Thomas.
Agreed.
You know, depending on what draft capital looks like and what your needs are. But, I mean, like Jaden Daniels, for example, wouldn't surprise me if he's a top 5 quarterback in Dynasty at some point with his rushing ability.
I agree. And I said this last time or in a different video on our live stream, whenever I did say it, that we will not be surprised if one of these guys or these quarterbacks go even early in a one quarterback league. If you don't have a top 12, you know, quarterback in Dynasty, if you have a Jared Goff, a Geno Smith, a Jordan Love, even Bryce Young, right, with all the question mark he has, someone like a Caleb Williams, a Jaden Daniels, a Drake May, who has a new home, maybe better weapons than some of these other quarterbacks you're probably comparing your quarterback room to right now. I will not be surprised if these guys can go, maybe top 9, or no, not top 9, excuse me, from like the 109 to 110 onwards in the quarterback position, if some of these landing spots aren't favorable for all the other positions like the running backs and the wide receivers.
I love the 1010, by the way. My favorite spot in the draft.
10, yeah. Hey, anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Okay, you said 10. I don't know if you realize that.
I know, I did. But it was, I get what you were saying.
Yeah. All right, on to tier 5. We've got Ladd McConkey, Jalen McMillan, Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, all players that I really, really love. You could have Xavier Worthy, depending on draft capital, as high as tier 3. Yeah. If people see what I see in Jalen McMillan, I could see him rising. Ladd McConkey, I mean, Ladd the space creator is what I call him. The dude, all he does is create separation, is get open. And of course, Adonai Mitchell is no consolation prize. He's a great route runner, really reliable hands. His game translates to the next level really, really well. He might be the best wide receiver out of Texas this year. That's how good he is.
Yeah, he could. I definitely would have Xavier Worthy higher. I think he could be in the tier 3, like you said, based on draft capital. All these guys, I would say, their draft capital can fluctuate depending on their landing spot, without a doubt. I love Xavier. Adeline Mitchell, one of my biggest risers in the wide receiver room so far for me. I've been seeing a lot of these landing spots, which seem very favorable. 6'4", 190-plus pounds. That can be a field stretcher or a contested catch guy, which is really exciting there. And McMillan, somebody's still trying to wrap my finger around here, but great tier. I like tier 5 without a doubt.
All right, so we will move on to tier 6. Jonathan Brooks, Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette, Tez Walker, one of my biggest risers so far, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix, as well as Jatavion Sanders. Love this tier. You're going to get a bunch of talent in the early to mid to late second round of rookie drafts this year. It is completely chocked full of extremely talented players. You know, Tez Walker is someone that is rising up my rankings. Really explosive athlete, great kind of strides in his long run speed. Reminds me a little bit of Christian Watts in the way he moves. Xavier Legette, he's 6'3", 240 pounds almost. I mean, he'll have like the DK, the AJ Brown type of comparisons to his game.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman's a little bit lower for us. We just prefer a wide receiver who is a good separator, a guy who we can easily see translating to the next level. Now, Keon Coleman can be Kenny Golladay, for example, if he's got the right quarterback play, but while he is an incredible contested catcher, there are some question marks on how he will separate at the next level when everyone's a better athlete, you know, when everyone's got more athleticism, when the field doesn't have as much space, when the hash marks aren't, you know, where they were in college. So I'm just a little concerned about Keon translating to the next level.
Yeah, completely agree. I think one of the biggest things, what are the traits that he is bringing to the next level, and how can that translate to fantasy? One of the biggest things we look for is great yards out of the catch ability, great ability to get a lot of production. Do you envision Keon Coleman having a lot of yards after the catch and getting a lot of production, or do you see him as a 4 to 5 to 6 target per game wide receiver, hoping that he just gets those jump ball capabilities, right? Like, I mean, you can think of, like you said, Kenny Golladay is a perfect example. He didn't win based off of yards after the catch. He won because he was running down the field and he was always going to win that contested catch and score a touchdown. So I completely agree with Keon Coleman.
Somewhere between Kenny Golladay or Devontae Parker is, I think, what you're getting with Keon. Somewhere in between there.
Yeah, completely agree. And before we move on to your tier 7, one of my biggest risers in the quarterback room is Bo Nix. Yep. Somebody that I'm really getting excited for. I mean, even
same.
I'm not saying I want the Giants to take him in the 6th pick, but if they fall in love with him and they say this is the only place we can take him, I'm not I don't know. I don't want to say it too soon. I feel like it's a little bit too soon, but I wouldn't be upset because there is a range where he can go from, you know, the 10th overall pick all the way to the middle of the 2nd round. And there can be success there with Bo Nix. But I like him. I've been watching more and more and hearing more and more from him. And he excites me here. So definitely keep an eye on Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is an exciting player. He plays the quarterback position really, really, really well. I mean, he might not be a flashy name or super exciting, but super high IQ, runs an offense with ease. I mean, he is a very exciting player. Super accurate as well. I mean, anywhere from 10 to 30 yards, his accuracy is ridiculously good. So it'll be exciting to see how he translates to the next level. And then tier 7, take a shot on a running back. Marshawn Lloyd, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irvin. I've also got Michael Penix Jr. there. But that's how the tier 7 kind of wraps up. None of these running backs I'm really in love with, I'll be honest with you. But if they get the right draft capital and are in an exciting opportunity, Minnesota, for example, maybe Dallas or the Chargers. You know, Vikings. I don't know if I said that. Yeah, I said Minnesota, but it could influence me to take a shot on them.
And that's what's kind of been happening with me with someone like specifically Braylon Allen. I keep seeing him going to favorable landing spots and saying, okay, I can see it. I can see him going to the Chargers and being someone that takes over the opportunities, right? I can see just like, what if it's the Browns, right? And Nick Chubb is not 100% or he's never going to be the same. Like, that's a place that he can go and land to and take a lot of opportunities and have a lot of opportunities. So there's definitely a couple landing spots that could be favorable for some of these running backs going into the draft.
All right, guys, that's it for today. By the way, we did just release our rookie scouting and ranking package. Right now, you are seeing Marvin Harrison Jr.'s profile. We have profiles for all the guys that we talked about today. Yeah. So if you want to support us and you want to get access to that, it's going to continually update. It's going to get better and better, each month as we get closer to rookie draft season. If you want access to that, go ahead and use the promo code LAND. Sign up to the Flock Fantasy website. You will be supporting us. Make sure you choose the Mother Flocker tier. That's going to unlock that package for you. But that's it for today, guys. Hit the like button, and we'll see you very soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.